Hey everybody, it's Ben Capozzi with Broad Shoulders Farm, and it's Saturday, November 12th, 2020. And if you look over my shoulder, you can see the perimeter fence, our Premier One Electronet fencing. And if you've been following the channel before, it may look like, wow, that's a lot of space. The fence looks really big, and indeed it is bigger than what I normally do. So I'm going to flip the camera around and talk briefly about, a big change that we made here at the farm from a management standpoint. And I think it's working out pretty well. So this is the 48-inch tall Premier One electric poultry netting that we use and have used since we started. In 2018, back in March. I use this to contain the chickens, but to allow them to be moved to different places to graze and enjoy fresh pasture, instead of just designing a stable coop that they live in. I wanted to make sure that they could go out and rotationally graze through the orchard here. And get fresh grass. Now, some folks do this every day. My operation, even though I have a lot of birds, it's kind of small. It's just me, with occasional help from friends or family. And I can't move this every day. I was trying to move it every week, every 2 weeks, and that seemed to be fairly doable. But as things just got busier and busier with the farmers market, and trying to get the market garden going, and then baking season came on, it just became too much, and the birds were suffering because I couldn't move them as often as I would like. I have three main groups. Again, just a little background for the folks who maybe are new. There's the European breeds, like the continental breeds group, which is mostly Morans and hamburgers. Hamburgs. I call them hamburgers. And other French breeds, Faverolles, La Flèche, German Bielefelders. So that was like the continental breeds group. Then there's also the Mediterranean and Pacific Rim breeds group with Anconas and Andalusians and Dutch brown leghorns and Chinese Longshans, Australian Australorps. And then the last group was the English-speaking breeds, which were things like Barred Rocks and Chanticleers and Sussex and cream leg bars and all that. And they all had one 164-foot length of this of this netting, which I used to create basically a 40 by 40 area that they would stay inside their Justin Rhodes style chickshaw, their mobile coop, and they would stay in there, and I would rotate them, and at a 40 by 40 square, they would have 1,600 square feet of space, and they would stay there for a week to 2 weeks. Well, every time there was a different space, that meant 3 different waterers and 6 different feed bowls that had to be filled at least once every day, sometimes twice every day, depending on the time of year and the temperature. And that started to add up, especially when I didn't keep all the birds in close proximity. When I had some over on that side of the farm and one group over here and then another group over here. That also meant I had 3 solar energizers to power all of that, and it really just became a management problem. So back on August 18th, after some thought and consideration, I decided to do away with my idea of the 3 separate groups, 3 separate flocks, and I combined them all. So now there's the Mediterranean group's house, and then the other 2 groups' houses are on the other side of these apple trees. And I put all 3 of their fences together. So before, one fence, 1,600 square feet. 3 fences, 4 sides, 128 feet. 123 feet each. It basically creates 15,000 square feet for them, which is, what is that, a third of an acre for them to work as one area. And they've been here for, like I said, August 18th they moved. Today's the 12th, so not quite a month. And if you look over here, there are still a ton of spaces where they have not been, with loads of fresh grass and plum shoots and narrow leaf. Oh my gosh, starts with a P. What is that stuff called? You get psyllium from it. Plantain, narrow leaf plantain, lots of grass, some juvenile stickweed, some plum, some of the cover crop that I come in here and sow, like daikon radish, but a lot of stuff for them to work with that they haven't even touched over here. They've mostly been staying under the shade and the protection of the 3 surviving apple trees and the autumn olive bushes that are there. And they have been enjoying autumn berries for a few weeks. Those were kind of coming on late July and August, so they kind of came in on the tail end of getting the autumn berries, which are delicious. That's a wild plant, not a cultivar, and it is super productive. And what would you say that is? 12, 15 feet tall? That sucker is getting propagated this fall, by the way. But anyhow, but they have tons of room. They're making dust baths. They're undergoing their molt. I was afraid that there would be some real struggles with the 3 groups having to make nice together, but they've worked it all out despite the roosters. I've seen a lot of hens trying to decide who is top hen, but they got it all sorted. And there's also tons of yellow dock out here for them to nosh on. There's burdock in its first year here that they can enjoy. There's, I think this is called like Japanese stilt grass or something. I'm not quite sure. They don't seem terribly interested in it, but it's available. I mean, they still get their ration of their chicken feed, and they also get their mix of sunflower seeds and wheat. As the weather gets a little colder, I'll switch it up to sunflower seeds and whole corn. Hi, Dorcas. Look at that food boob. He's looking mighty pendulous. Hi, baby. Dorcas has been with me from the start. I love that little bird. She's wonderful. But everybody looks a little dirtier than I am used to them seeing. And of course they are undergoing their molt right now here in early fall, so they don't look the best. Egg production has dropped off since I added everybody in here. And that could be a couple different things going on. But they have unlimited access to apples. They have been gorging themselves on apples here for 3 weeks, almost 4. And there's still plenty on the ground. There aren't that many still up in the trees, but there are a few. With this being 15,000 square feet, I would love to think that they could maybe stay in this spot for 2 months. If I could keep them here until mid-October and feel like they still have very high quality forage, that would be really, really cool, because what I'm trying to do is move them less often, but with more space. And I think they're pretty happy here. The fence, the electricity goes on at night. We haven't had any predator attacks. They have tons of stuff available. They eat, even if they're not interested in the fallen apples attract beetles and worms. And the chickens can comb over those. Hi, Dorcas. Hi, Johan. Johan the Arhan. But this is much easier for me to manage. And yes, it's a lot of fencing, but I only need to move it like once every 2 months, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, as opposed to moving 3 smaller fences twice a month. I'm contemplating the idea of maybe reducing this to not 3 fences, but maybe just do 2 fences, which would still be, I think the math worked out to like, it's like 82 by 82, which is like 6,000 square feet. And I feel like that's actually probably what these 3 groups together have used, because, there's so much out there that hasn't been used. So what I could do maybe is 2 fences, 6,000 square feet, and just do like this corner and then bump them over another month after that, and then they're in that space for a month. So I've got some options, but as I said, I think they're very happy, and they've barely made a dent over here. And then of course when they leave, I can come in here and sow winter cover crops, no problem, to provide snacks for them in the heart of winter. You know, do cold. Hey Johan, do cold hardy crops. So more of the daikon radish. I can sow mustard in here. I can sow some kale, and that way this whole area will be ready to receive them again. And I can always come in the spring or late winter of next year, but I can also come in here and harvest fresh greens in the coldest months and take it to them. We don't really tend to get a lot of snow here. We're in Virginia, south central Virginia, just above the North Carolina state line. We have very few days where the temperature is 0 or even below 10 degrees. We definitely get freezing weather, but we don't tend to have a lot of days where the temperature is below 20 or so. Of course, climate change means crazy fluctuations going on and unpredictable weather, so that could change. But I should still be able to get some cover crops going out here. And I mean, as you see, the chickens are being industrious. I mean, it's like 81 degrees today. It's pretty humid, but it's actually a really nice breeze, which thank you very much. I sure appreciate that. But you know, I mean, they're living their active chicken lives. Let me talk a little bit about problems with this setup. The 3 distinct groups where they all go into their houses is relatively intact, but I still get some sleeping with the other groups, which is not a problem. I just kind of have to accept that I no longer can point to and say, oh, that's, you know, all the Morans are in there. Well, some of the Morans are sleeping over there, and some of the Longshans that sleep back there are actually coming over here and sleeping in there. No problem. I just get over it. It doesn't really alter anything, and the efficiency for me is a huge saving. So I'm pretty excited about that. They are using their nest boxes a little bit less. That could also be because, you know, like I said, they're undergoing a molt, and it's fall. And because of the Merrick's disease outbreak in my grow out pens over on the other side of the farm, my laying schedule, the way I bring new birds, should be coming in to lay at about the time that my older birds are either taking a seasonal break, or none of my birds are 3 years old yet, so none of them are ready to completely retire. By the way, again, if you follow the channel for a while, you know that we don't harvest our birds, we don't kill them. We certainly thank them for their service, and then they get put on composting duty, which means that they will help me take commercial food scraps from kitchens and turn it into compost. That's their ultimate destiny, and they can do that for as many years as they want. And we do that in a protected spot that will be built next spring, because next March I will have some birds that are turning 3. So, oh yeah, other problems. I love having the apple trees for cover from aerial predators, for entertainment and enrichment for the birds' lives. Of course, for the forage. I mean, they're eating a ton of apples. And I was actually talking with my customers at the farmer's market today, my egg customers. I want more people to tell me what they think, because the birds have had now almost a month worth of unlimited apples that they can gorge on. And I think that the eggs taste a little creamier, a little smoother, a little more mellow. And I don't know that those are flavor descriptions so much as texture descriptions, but just the taste is more mellow. I don't know how to describe it. But anyhow, I'm hoping that my customers can taste the difference too, and they'll get back and let me know what they think of this. But one problem, especially my flighty breeds, they no longer like sleeping in their house at night. They sleep up in the tree. I've got probably half a dozen to a dozen girls and a couple roosters who perch up in this tree every night, and they're too high up for me to start grabbing them and haul them down every night. It's going to be a challenge when I move this group on to the next location, because collecting everybody, getting them in a coop, a chickshaw, and moving them to the next location, for the ones that tend to not go to bed in the house anymore at night, that's going to be a challenge, I know. And because they're not in there, they're not laying their eggs in the nest boxes. And that is another downside of what has happened so far, is that it's really like an Easter egg hunt in here now. Like every day, like I can't just look in here and see that everyone's full. Okay, great, there's 3, yay. I can guarantee you that there's probably at least 3, if not 13 or so, that are somewhere out here in this big tangle. And those eggs are just, they're lost to me. I can't get them. There's no way for me to kind of, you know, patrol this regularly every day to make sure that I'm not getting old eggs. I'm certainly not going to sell old eggs to my customers. So that's one downside to this. But as long as I keep the nest boxes topped off, and I need to refresh these, the girls are still interested in coming in here and doing their laying there. So it's not an insurmountable problem, and I think it's not a problem that's any worse than the problems I was having in terms of moving everybody. So it's a bit of a trade-off. I think I can correct it. And I think, honestly, moving forward, I may be doing away with these chickshaws entirely in favor of creating one much larger mobile hen house, but a hen house that would hold all 3 of the groups. I mean, each of the groups is about 30, 25 to 45, maybe 50 birds. So, you know, times 3, I think altogether in here, I've got close to or a little over 100 birds in my laying flock. So, you know, to build a chicken coop, a mobile chicken coop that could house, you know, 150 birds is actually not a big deal. There are, you know, plans and designs that you see on Instagram and on YouTube and just any kind of internet search. You can see lots of different plans that are adapted to it. And I may very well be moving to something like that, which would free these up for use for maybe moving smaller groups around. Maybe the roosters who live in a rooster run back there could get out a bit more often. If they had a dedicated cruiser just for them, I could take them out. Hi, baby. How are you? Very chatty. You know, the farm is continuing to evolve. I think that it should evolve. It was really kind of a relief for me when I was like, I'm going to try and combine these groups, because I've been doing the 3 separate chickshaws for 3 years, and the chickshaws are great. But, you know, if you look at Justin's videos, Justin Rhodes, who, you know, created this design, his plans, his documentary, everything he talks about, he's talking about for a backyard flock. And what I did is I took his backyard flock model and I multiplied it by 3 in order to do a commercial operation. And I think if I had, you know, kids or more family or enough revenue to actually have, you know, fairly paid employees, this could work. But since it's really essentially just me, I think the idea of a bigger chickshaw or a bigger chicken house that moves a little less frequently, but still onto really quality pasture. I mean, you know, I don't feel like this is a bad spot for the birds. You know, if people think otherwise, please let me know. But, you know, I'm constantly trying to improve the pasture. I'm planting clover. I'm planting clover. I'm planting vetch. I'm planting, oh my gosh. What is it called? It's like a blue cornflower. Lord of mercy. My mind is gone, guys. I've obviously been talking too long. But anyhow, I'm constantly trying to improve the pasture. And this is kind of the first spot where we've done this really large group. And I think in general, I'm pleased with the results. So that's the update for the rotational grazing with the chickens. If you have questions, comments, concerns, helpful criticism, please feel free to post your comments here on YouTube. You can also follow the farm at Broad Shoulders Farm on Instagram and Facebook. And wherever you are, I hope that you are staying safe and that you're having an absolutely great day. And so please keep all that up. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.